Right. Sorry, people. It was my fault. It was my fault. My son was crying for money. I'll wait until I get. Oh my God! What's going on here? Buy an alarm clock. Oh my God! Right. I'm here anyway. I'm here. There's 5 people. Oh, there's 5. There we go. Let's have a quick say hello to who's here. Leon, hello. Vegan Mooncat, thanks for coming. Bev Llewellyn, yes. Thank you for that super chat, Bev. £1.79 to buy an alarm clock. Brilliant idea. Thank you. Leon ahoy. Garuda Legends. Behave this time. Yes, Garuda, behave this time. Right, guys. Sorry about that. I had a lot of stuff going on just before I was due to come on, sending money to my son. But today I have got my good friend Zach, who I came across on TikTok. And he's an amazing live sort of, what can I say? A live activist. He's so great on the lives. He's got his own. Well, anyway, let's get him on. Let's let him tell us all about himself. Now, people, I just want to warn you. This guy has got a voice like softly melted treacle, and it will get to you. So just be ready for that. I'm going to shut the curtain. 1 second. Good idea, Mooncat. There we go. Is that better? Is that reflection gone now? Yes, that reflection's gone. Thanks for that, Mooncat. Garuda Legends, yeah, you behave how you want. We'll sort you out. But come on, let's bring him on. So, hello there, Zachary. Is that your proper name, Zachary?
That is my that's my full name. Yep, Zachary. Indeed.
Is it? Right, okay. But
Indeed.
We'll call you Zach. Vegan Pixie Warrior, you can hear me. You can hear Zach. Don't start being a mooncat, right?
Yeah.
Don't be mooncat.
You just got to turn it up.
Right, hang on 1 second. There we go. No, what they're doing is it's a long-standing joke since I've been doing lives, and what they do is they actually just keep telling me they can't hear me, and then I get panicked and mess about, and yeah. So Zach, I'm going to do a quick search for your Instagram and for your YouTube, and I'll share it out there. But okay. give us a little introduction about yourself, my friend. Come on, tell the people all about you.
Sure. So I'm Zach. I'm in the United States. I live just 50 minutes north of Washington, D.C. I've been a vegan for coming on 5 years, so not too terribly long, but long enough to just get angry enough. And so yeah, and I have a business basically doing online fitness training for vegans. My goal is basically just to help vegans become the best that they can be and improve the world to the best that we can through the various forms of activism that I'm good at, like you said. And so that's kind of the nutshell. That's who I am. That's what I do. And it's a pleasure to be here.
Yeah, sure. And in that short space of time that you took to describe, Danny Smells, stop it. I've managed to find both your pages, so I'm just going to share the screen.
Okay.
Share screen. Let's have a look. Vegan Strongfit. So this is your Instagram page.
That's the one.
And it says Zach, Vegan Strongfit Coach. Mm-hmm. You've got a few sort of pieces to camera there, talking heads.
Yep. All kinds of.
Yeah, meditation mastery. We'll talk about that later. Mm-hmm. Heal your relationship with food. That sounds interesting. Mm-hmm. A picture of you with a hairstyle like mine. Oh, you must have been sort of, really cool, really cool. Yeah, you're not a skinny vegan, are you? You're not.
I don't know. I don't know. I don't think so.
You
But
know, I think you look pretty decent on there, my friend. So that is Zach's Instagram. So I will put that in the chat, people.
cool.
Please give him a follow or take a look at the very least.
Looks like
And let's stop this screen, and then let's just throw this YouTube page over. So this is are you active on this page? Oh yeah, you are. You're very active.
relatively, yeah.
Yeah. So what can people find on this?
Well, they can find our interview from a few months ago.
Yep.
They can find various long. So typically, I post kind of shorter videos, obviously on TikTok, that are just kind of very quick, raise awareness and whatnot. I think typically on YouTube, I post much longer videos.
Yeah.
And so they're explaining concepts, and most of it is surrounding mental health. I think mental health is typically the thing that I talk about conceptually the most. I think it's the hardest
Right.
concept, the hardest thing to tackle health wise, and thus that's what my calling is, I would say.
I'll throw that in there. So okay, let's clear this screen then. Stop screen. So right. So we've got a lot to talk about.
Sure.
Okay, we've got a question already, but we'll tackle that in a minute. Garuda Legends. Now, Garuda Legends is a bit of a troll on my page, but
Well, consistency is key, right?
yeah, but they're sort of a light-hearted troll. I don't mind them.
It's
I
good.
don't know whether they're male or female. Never been to Washington DC, but I've seen Washington State. What a gorgeous state!
It is.
Yeah. So Zach, can I ask a personal question?
Sure.
How old are you?
25.
25. Oh my God. You're just a mere child to me. Do you know this? A mere child.
Right.
And you say you've been vegan for 5 years.
Mm.
So what prompted you to go vegan in the very first place? Was there a specific, or was it a journey? Some people, I myself took a health journey and eventually ended up at veganism. But what's your story?
Well, I was pretty active socially at the time. I don't know what the political positioning of your viewers is. Anyone under 40 seconds me. Oh my God. But I was getting into college, a relatively socially active person. I was doing a lot of protesting for kind of LGBTQ plus stuff and various Black Lives Matter stuff. And I actually had a girlfriend at the time. The bottom line is, I would any Republican I could find, I wanted to debate them. I mean, I just wanted to destroy Republicans. That's all I wanted in life. And so I had a girlfriend at the time who had been vegan a really long time. She'd been vegan at that point for 7 years. And so she was kind of getting me to, she was kind of like poking me, if you could say that, like, you know, you're doing all this activism. You're really a socially conscious person. And yet on the other hand, you're eating all these animal products, right? And as somebody who was a farmer, right, I was a farmer, and a dairy farmer at that for a period of months. And she kind of pointed out, like, you know, you've seen what happens to these animals, right? Like, you know that this is what's going on. What's the disconnect? And it really got me to think. And I couldn't really unsee the things that she was showing me, right? Like, I was watching Earthlings. She tried to show me Earthlings. I could not finish it.
Why could you not finish it? You couldn't handle it, or it was boring, or what?
No, it was brutal. It was brutal.
Right. So really, you couldn't handle watching this.
Right. I was just like, this is horrific. This is institutionalized murder if I've ever seen it. I mean, there's nothing this bad that exists for humans anywhere on the planet, right? Nothing this bad has existed since the Holocaust and the Soviet gulags. And so after watching that, I was like, you know, there's no excuse, right? And I was pretty big into fitness even at that point. And so I thought, you know, I'm not going to be able to get protein, right? This is going to be the big problem, is I'm not going to be able to get the protein that I need. I'm not going to be able to get the energy that I need. And I I asked myself honestly, if that was actually true, and I didn't know if it was because I was seeing all this conflicting information. I was reading into like these vegan, John Venus at the time was an actual vegan.
Oh, whoa, whoa, easy,
Yeah,
Tiger, easy,
yeah.
easy
He
now,
was
yeah.
he was a real vegan at that point. And so,
I didn't really think I'd hear that name again for a
and he
wow.
and so I started watching his content along with this other guy, Jonathan is something, who's his sense come out as being a fake vegan and going back to eating animal products. But I was watching these guys who were really big, really strong, and I was like, there's got to be some things that I'm not aware of here. And so even if I am going to lose all my protein, it doesn't matter, right? It's the right thing to do to stop consuming animal products. And so it was a period of I would say just a couple months, where I saw the stuff, made the commitment, and once I really made the commitment, I went vegan overnight. Essentially, like there was not a slow progression of swapping things out. It was pretty much just right all together right away.
I mean, that's interesting. I mean, a lot of young people, yeah, they do that. They do that. It's like,
Mm.
it, I mean, when you say what confused me is when you said you were sort of protesting for LGBTQ rights.
Right.
You don't fit into that category, but you were just fighting on behalf of them, or do you fit into that category?
I fit into that category now. At that point, I didn't. Since then, I've kind of had a lot of this is a tangent, but I've had a lot of time to sit and reflect, and I guess I would consider myself a very fluid person, and that's kind of because I've realized that a lot of the labels and everything these are crutches that society has used over periods of millennia to function normally, right? Like people in 1400s, you know, UK they weren't sitting around wondering what's my sexual orientation most likely. They were like, how can I have as many kids as possible to farm the damn estate? Um,
Yeah,
and I think nowadays we afford ourselves the luxury of having a lot of time to sit around asking ourselves these questions. And I basically would consider myself on that spectrum quite simply because um, I'm a fluid individual. Now that being said, most people would look at me and they would say, pretty clearly male, right? Pretty clearly presents very masculine. Never had a boyfriend. Really only had relationships, both romantic and sexual, with females. But that being said, that's just kind of my own philosophical perspective.
I mean, I do find it interesting, and I mean, when all this, I won't say when it all came out. Well, it did come out, didn't it? It did come out. There was like all of a sudden there was people transitioning. It become more acceptable. There was
Right.
a TV show on BBC on British TV called Big Brother, and we had saw our first sort of TV transsexuals on there,
Mm.
and it all became to the front. And I started thinking to myself, what is the problem? What is the problem with somebody being male and someone being female and I couldn't get my head around it. But then I thought back to when I was about 8 or 9 years old in the 70s.
Mm.
And during that period, everybody male had long hair,
Yeah.
really long hair.
Right.
And I, as a child, my mum grew my hair long.
Right.
It was blonde, absolutely bright blonde. So I had long blonde hair.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm cute now, but I was even cuter then. And I remember several times going into a restaurant or going somewhere with my mum and dad, and one of the waitresses would say to me, "What does the little girl want?" "I'm not a fucking girl, I'm a boy," and it enraged me. And I thought, well, hold on a minute, I've actually been misgendered there.
Mm.
So I obviously identify as male. I
Mm.
feel like I'm a male.
Mm.
And this person has misgendered me and called me. And I thought, now I get it.
Mm.
Now I understand what the
Mm.
problem is with all this.
Sure.
Because if you feel like a female inside and somebody keeps treating you like a male, it's gonna hurt.
It's gonna hurt. Yeah.
It's gonna, So I do get it. I do get it.
Mhm.
No, I haven't always been bald at all, Mooncat. But yeah, I mean, the only sort of sticking point at the moment in the UK, and I don't know how, and I'd like to. I mean, we could go off on a tangent, Zach. Don't worry, we'll talk about
Okay.
anything on here. But
Sure.
I'd like to get your take on this. Now, the government originally, or some governing body in sports, allowed
Hmm.
transgender males to enter female competitions.
Hmm. Hmm.
And now they've done a U-turn on it. And
Hmm.
I've been trying to think about this. And to me, I think that's a correct decision. I think even if you are female, representing it as female, and you have a male body, you have an advantage over women. Otherwise, they wouldn't be separate women and men's football teams. They wouldn't be separate women's and men's boxing.
Right.
So what's your take on that?
Yeah. I mean, and I think this is a really hot topic around the world right now. I
Mm,
mean, if you know, I think there's a lot of conversations going on at the same time. Like if you know much about the United States, we I don't know how we managed to have like an extremely hardcore right wing political party in the Republicans, and they're passing a lot of laws all over the country in their various states, and one of them recently was passed in Texas that um, essentially requires teachers and therapists to call child protective services if a kid is like openly, hey, I'm transgender, right? They have to, the parents then have to become they have to be investigated essentially, right? And they think it's because this is actually a giant ploy to to groom children, right? It's crazy. And so there's that conversation, and then there is what I would consider to be a relatively more sane um, conversation in regards to things like sports, right? And I know that the whole Leah Thomas, if you're familiar with Leah Thomas,
no.
okay, so Leah Thomas was an individual who, and someone can correct me if I'm getting the story wrong, but she is um, a transgender swimmer, right? Originally, a male, swimming and has transitioned to female and is now participating in, the female leagues, right? But she essentially went from being a relatively mediocre swimmer in the men's league to being out of like just far and away one of the highest performing female swimmers, right? And is it because her performance actually radically increased? No, right? It's because she is physically, right, significantly more muscular, significantly more endurance wise capable than the majority of the people, the women that are in her league. And so my perspective is like we operate a lot of things from a what I would consider to be an antiquated position, right? So like men's leagues and women's leagues, well, man and woman, whether you want to talk about sex or gender, well, if we're talking about gender, man and woman is subjective. Essentially, anybody can call themselves anything, right? That doesn't mean that you have the physical characteristics, right? Doesn't mean that you have the same reproductive organs. Um, and so that's the question: is like, what is it time for us to reconsider how we operate these leagues? And I think yes, because you're going to there are going to be more and more people coming out as transgender, right? As time goes on and society
Yeah.
is more accepting of it and there's more access to resources, more and more people are going to say, you know what, this is who I really am and I'm coming out as this. And so we as a society are going to have to figure out men's and women's leagues is going to become impossible to just hold things there. And so my perspective is that we should really have ranked ranked leagues where you qualify for the various tiers. And is it unfair that at the top of the tier it's most likely going to be the majority biological males? Probably yes. That's probably what's going to happen, and that's just because we are physically more capable of building muscle, right? More capable of exerting
But
energy.
but you know the thing is, if if a male goes through therapy,
Hmm.
right, not necessarily having the old chop,
Right.
right, but taking basically dairy products, estrogen, taking estrogen, and obviously growing breasts, would that not then change the strength? This is what I've been thinking about. Would it not then change the strength level, or would they have residual strength left over from the male side of it, or would it never? Would that never go away? Is it a constant battle? I'm not read up on it, but do you see what I'm getting at? Is it a
Yeah.
constant thing of taking estrogen all the time, or is it does your
No,
body?
from
I
what
don't
I
know.
understand, I have a very close friend who is a transgender woman. And from what I understand, eventually you no longer take the estrogen. And it's quite simply because your body fully is a
Yeah,
female.
transitions to female. Yeah,
Right. You don't
yeah.
know, you no longer need the external.
You've taken the balance. You've upset the balance of the body,
Right.
and you've made estrogen the dominant sort of hormone.
Hormone.
So
That's
yeah.
right.
So I wonder if that would affect the. I mean, obviously, I don't know. It's a funny one because men, if they want to, obviously, I've used steroids in the past, so
Hmm.
I've basically put a shitload of testosterone into my body, a
Right.
shitload, and that has done. It's exaggerated what the body would do. With that kind of influence. So yeah, it's a funny one. So
Mhm.
in that respect, I suppose we could say, well, if somebody's taken estrogen and is transitioning physically, then they should be allowed to take part in women's sports and vice versa. Because I'm sure that transgender women who want to transition to a male body,
Mhm.
if they're taking testosterone to grow facial hair and muscle, and
Right.
I'm sure they're going to get the strength from that.
Sure. They are. They are. And
So
that's the reality.
it's a funny one. I think people, what they need to do is test. They need to take a group from transgender women,
Hmm.
transgender men,
Hmm.
and do a test, with a control, and say, right, okay, so yeah, the strength. I don't know. It's a funny one. It's a funny
Yeah.
one.
And I know it is challenging. And I think this is one of those things where um, I, I would I think we need more transgender people in the conversation and to be actively talking to them because I do think that there's a lot of people that will claim, back and forth like, oh, somebody told me recently like, oh, well, Leah has a lot of disadvantages that those women don't have, right? And I think it was more from a sociological perspective of like mental health of this person is being beat up all the time on the internet, is constantly being called slurs. It's not easy being a transgender individual, right? But I do think that this is why my perspective is long term, leagues that are based on gender are just kind of silly, right? Like the transgender is just the tip of the iceberg. To be honest with you, I think long term science is going to make it possible for us to be damn near whatever we want to be physically, and there's all kinds of problems that are going to come with that. But the bottom line is that if you want to have sports, you really have got to figure out how to rank everybody in the same by the same qualifications, and then create tiers of performance. And right, and the top tier of performance is most likely going to be the spotlight professional people. And the reality is that if we do things that way, it will be made up of all kinds of people
Mm,
at that level.
yeah. I mean, at top tier though, as well, at top tier in any sport, you're talking. I mean, in racing, you're talking milliseconds between a champion and somebody coming second.
Right.
You're talking, um, just a tiny little bit more strength to do that deadlift and makes you a champion, and somebody's to come runner up. It's it is once you get to the top of the game, any advantage does show itself. I
Right.
mean,
Right.
this is why a lot of athletes in a lot of the top tier sports at the moment are vegan,
Hmm.
or plant-based,
Mm-hmm.
and they do not declare it for the simple reason they want that advantage. They want
Right.
that advantage, you know. So
Right. Right.
it is very interesting. Leon's just said, could I come on and talk about the estrogen and testosterone side of things? So I've put the link in the comments. If you want to come on for 5 minutes, Leon, yeah, that's cool. Leon identifies as they, them.
Okay.
I always upset them by calling him. And he always sends me things in the post, you know, like bombs and stuff like that after I do that on a live. But Zach is right. Give transgender people a scorecard so they can actually compete without being shamed. I mean, I'm all for it. I mean, I live my life, right? Apart from my veganism and my vegan activism and my outreach, I pretty much live my life how I want to live my life. I put on whatever clothes I want to do. I do what I want to do. And I think everybody's got the right to do that. And we live in a very judgy world. I mean, my era, Zach, was there was no photographs, there was no online presence, there was nothing. It was you had to physically meet people to meet
Mm.
people. That was it. You know,
Right.
it was a completely different thing. So there was no access to all this. I mean, you wouldn't see a book talking about gender. You wouldn't see, you know, unless you went to the library and searched it out. There's nothing there. And I think it's really good that these things are coming out in front of people
Mm.
and people for it to be in people's faces, because if they don't see it, how would they ever know? You know, how would they
Right.
ever know that it was a thing? You know,
Right.
I mean, I don't know whether you know, I've been going down my ADHD journey. I think we talked about it on my channel, and now
Mm.
I wouldn't have known there was anything wrong with me. I wouldn't have known for 48 years of my life. I suspected something not right
Mm.
with the way my life's gone. Why
Mm.
do I do these things? Why is there so much regret and
Mm.
violence in my life? And I never knew about ADHD. Now, if it were not for the fact that somebody mentioned it and said, I think you're ADHD, you mate, you should go and have a look at it and check it out, I would never have known. So yeah, that's another story coming up. But
Yeah.
let's move back towards the veganism. So TikTok, you do get yourself comfy, Zach. Get
I'm
yourself
I'm I'm
comfy.
a little under the weather, so I'm doing this interview from my bed.
Oh man, what's up with you?
I I had like a really bad head cold and really bad excretion on Tuesday and Wednesday. And I still have a little bit of the head cold, so
Yeah,
hopefully
yeah.
it's not the COVID-19. That's all I'm.
Yeah, I don't think it is. I mean, it's hard to say. I mean, what's happened in the UK now is that we've got to actually pay for tests now. We don't get any free tests. The free testing for
Oh wow,
COVID,
okay.
yeah, that's ended. So it's
Wow.
basically we have said to COVID, right, you're here. We're going to cope with you now. 48. So you've known you are ADHD for at least 20 years. No, fuck off, Mooncat. You're so horrible. You're so horrible. So we moved. Which came first then? Was it the Instagram? Was it the YouTube? Or was it the TikTok when you started sort of reaching out to people about veganism?
It was definitely Instagram. I got kicked off my last Instagram, unfortunately. Um, and I had a person send me a message that was basically like, uh, if you don't stop talking about veganism, I'm going to delete your account. That's what they said. Um, and I just looked at it and I was like, didn't think anything of it. I thought it was a joke. And lo and behold, over the next 2 days, I first got kicked out of my account and it said I just couldn't access it. And then after a couple days, it said the account's been deleted. Crazy. And so I started a new Instagram. I've been booted off TikTok multiple times at this point, booted off Twitter multiple times. It's crazy. I've been kicked off social media 7 times cumulatively, and so since going vegan, um, and so it's hard to tell you where it started, but it probably started with getting in comment fights on Facebook, and then actually moving on to having doing legitimate activism online using Instagram. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I never even looked. I hated TikTok. I tried it once, went
Mhm.
away, tried it once,
Mhm.
and I thought, no, I can't be doing this. And also, I found myself, and I've started training myself. Is when I went on TikTok, I'll sit there and I'll watch a video, and then I'll do what I think is 5 minutes of watching videos on TikTok. I'll look up and 2 hours has gone past, and it's like, what the hell? What's just
Yeah.
happened to 2 hours of my life? It's like,
Yeah.
no. And then when I came back to it, I put a few videos up and I got a really big response.
Mhm. Mhm.
Again with my Instagram as well, and then I started building up a bit of a reputation pretty quickly,
Mhm.
and yeah, and then it snowballed, and I thought, wow, I'm actually reaching out to a lot of non-vegans here,
Yeah. Yep.
and that was sort of like a eureka moment. I thought, wow, I'm not. I mean, we do get non-vegans on my YouTube channel. I do get non-vegans on my Instagram channel. That's why I mix the acting up with with the veganism on my Instagram to draw people in for the acting side of it, and then hit them with the old veganism button.
Mhm.
But yeah, I sort of like, yeah, I realized that I could influence a lot of people. And then when I did my first live outside a slaughterhouse, wow, that was like amazing. I looked and there was 5 people watching, and then within 15, 20 seconds there was 250 people on that stream,
Mhm.
and they were all giving me shit. They were all trolling me. It was a pig slaughterhouse, it was a gas chamber,
Mhm.
and they were all just unbelievable. There's my bacon butties beam. But I thought, hold on a minute, why are you sat on this channel? Why are you watching this?
Mhm.
Isn't there more interesting things than some old geezer from the
Mhm.
north of England stood outside a gas chamber? So these people are interested. They're really interested, Zach. And it's like, wow, yeah, come on. Yeah, keep coming, keep commenting.
Sure.
And then I watched some of your live streams. And again, you just sit there, you stick your camera on, and you just start talking. And people come in.
Mhm.
And yes, they are trolls, but how do you tackle that?
That's a great question. I mean, I agree with you. I think TikTok is the best opportunity on social media right now for activists. Um, and I think when it comes to trolls, like we have a propensity to like take things personally, right? And so when somebody attacks you or somebody says something to you, you know, it triggers a lot of things in you, right? Because number one, you care about the animals, right? And it hurts to hear people say things about the animals like that. Um, but you got to realize, like a lot of the time, we as humans tend to like attack things that we don't understand or that we're afraid of,
Yeah,
right? And so if you can have that recognition of like these people are they are being triggered, right? And that's the reason they're projecting this negativity onto you. And so you have an option. You can return that same negativity. You can just attack them right back and get frustrated right back at them.
that's where I go wrong.
Right? Me too. I do too. But realizing that in a way they're sick, right? In a way that they are sick and need to be healed, right? And in the radical Christian phraseology. And I think that's what it is realizing that they they are curious, and that's why they're sticking around to watch, right? And they want to see, what does this person who is antithetical to a lot of what I believe, how are they going to react to these kinds of things, right? Can I make them fall victim to the same kinds of follies that most people have, and getting angry and cursing at them and calling them names, and or can you use that, can you leverage that attention to place little seeds in their brain while they are there on your feed, right, on your stream. And so that's kind of how I look at it. I mean, I enjoy kind of messing around with people. um, I I look forward to opportunities where people are are ready to be kind of like trolled back a little bit, like you make jokes back at them and kind of you know or just full on debate their points. But either way, it's all an opportunity, because
Mm,
there are the loud scared individuals, but then there are the quiet, scared individuals who are thinking a lot of those things, and they just don't say them, and they kind of want to see um, what is this person gonna say, and you can actually get a lot of information through to them, and I've had a lot of people, say that to me, right? That they've stayed around because they ended up watching one of my streams, um, and then they just ended up sticking around and watching a lot of more of my videos, and ultimately telling me, hey, I'm actually trying to go vegan. So
I mean, I try to keep myself. I try to keep my character. I mean, there's a bit of a divide in the UK. So I'm Northern England, and you've got the Southern England, and we call them the Southern softies.
mm,
Not, we call them that because like we walk around and like for them it's freezing cold, and like they'll have big coats on and scarves and hats, and us Northerners, because we get colder air up here, we walk around in a t-shirt in the same weather, and we're like, look at you, what's up with you?
right,
I've forgotten completely where I was going with this attack, actually. Oh, that was it. Yeah. So yeah, but we're a lot friendlier up here as well. I mean, if you walk around London and say hi to people and how you doing and stuff like that, oh my god, all things going on now. They'll back off from you, but in the north, we speak to each other, and we have what's called the crack. We have a bit of banter with each other. We'll yeah, you bald bastard or whatever. So I use that character when I'm doing my TikTok streams, and I think a lot of people warm to that as well. Even when they're giving me shit, I'll give them shit back, but it's not nasty. When
mhm,
people say to me, for instance, like, "Yeah, I'm going to eat 5 steaks now and have 6 eggs because you told me not to," and all I'll say is, "Listen, mate, when you're in that hospital after your heart attack or stroke, if you see someone on a space hopper and one of those little trumpet things bouncing past your bed, it'll be me." You know what I mean? And it just keep it nice, but get a message there. You know what I mean? Get a message, but have a bit of fun with them.
right, right,
And I'll give it them back. When they say, "Oh, why are you trying to ram it down our throats?" I'm like, "Excuse me, you're on my page now.
yeah.
What
You're on my
what are
stream.
you doing?" I mean, the only people that we're not affecting are the ones that just scroll right past us.
Yeah, yeah,
They say nothing to us. They've gone, and them are the only people we have no influence on.
that's right.
So you can close your eyes. You can block your nose up. You can keep your mouth shut, but you can't block your ears. And your ears are in direct sort of communication with your brain.
Hmm.
And as soon as you hear something, you're going to make images in your head. So it is a really cool way of getting through to people.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, let's have a look at some of these comments. I've actually deleted now a few posts on dairy cows that got very good responses from non-vegans and high views, but I'm worried the account will be gone altogether. Have over 1K. Yeah, well, don't be too scared of it, because the last live I did, I went live 10 minutes after my week-long ban had ended, and within 5 minutes of that live ending, my account was permanently banned.
Hmm.
And I just filled in the box saying, appeal. And I said, look, people, there was nothing offensive in this. People have ganged together on the chat, and I had one guy spamming, report this guy for misinformation, and that's the reason you banned it. This isn't right. It came back on. I was
Hmm.
really surprised. I was already making a new account.
Yeah,
So vegan vlogger, don't be scared. Don't be
yeah.
scared. As
I,
long as it's not. Go on, sorry, Zach.
no, I mean, I would add too that, like, if you are going to keep making content, like if you ask yourself honestly, am I going to keep going even if I do get banned? The next account that you make will get even bigger, right? That's how it's always been for me. Every time I've made a new account, next one's always bigger after that. It's always bigger after that. And it's because you you will grow as a content creator. Like, you will get better camera presence, you'll get better voice, you'll get more clarity in your message. You'll just get better at it. But if you realize that the calling is really the activism, nothing's gonna stop you. You can make infinite accounts. And TikTok, the great thing about TikTok is if you just put out a shitload of content, you'll get more people seeing it. You'll get more followers. So I would say don't worry too much about that. I think that people respect people that are willing to, kind of crash and burn a little bit, right?
Mm-hmm.
And if they're willing to, and they're accepting of the risks, nothing can stop you.
Correct. People have the right to be informed, to be able to make an informed choice, but they keep wanting to censor out the info, so they can't become informed. I think that might mean. Yeah, it is good. I mean, like Zach says, people, it's all about just learning how to condense your message. I was talking, a guy rung me up 3 days ago. He's somebody from BBC Wales. He wants to interview a vegan activism group, and they've picked him as the guy they want to speak to because he's in the 25 to 35 age range.
Mm.
And he rung me up for advice. He said, "What you've done TV work and all that stuff, and what advice can you give me?" And I said, "Look, all you've got to do is memorize a few facts, try and predict what they're going to say to you, and most of all, get your answers down to a nice condensed statement, because what any interview or what any sort of interaction with anybody happens, it is you're going to have them for a few seconds tops, and then they're going to walk away, or the interviewer is going to move on to something else or move on to something else. So you've only got a very small window to get as much information out as possible. So when people ask you why you're vegan, it should be straight away for the animals. I don't like animal abuse. That's it. You've done it. You've done two statements. You're vegan for the animals. It's not for health. It's not for environment. You don't like animal abuse, and that's it. And that's all you need to say. But if you start saying, "Well, I'm vegan because originally I thought about health," and as soon as you start going down health diet, then you've got, well, I've got these studies, you've got these studies, and then when you go down you start waylaying off the, and then it ends up a sort of fact, a study sort of showdown where you say, "Oh, well, I've got this study, you've got that study," and it gets ridiculous.
Yeah, and I mean, I think you got to throw yourself into those situations because you're not going to learn any other way.
Yeah. And what you did, mate, is exactly what I did. Arguing on Facebook.
Right.
No better forum to learn your craft, because you can go away, go to Dr. Google, go to environmental Google, go to factual Google. You can get your answers, come back, and what happens is the same statements come over and over and over. So by the time you've finished arguing on Facebook for maybe a month, you've answered the same question 20, 30 times over. And again, you've got your condensed argument.
Right. Yeah, exactly. That's it.
So, excuse me. Can we talk about, oh God, have you sent me a computer virus?
No, man. It's all that it's all that vaping, bro. I'm sorry, that's what it is.
Oh, don't start on my vaping. It's the only thing I've got left, man. It's the only thing I've got left. I am trying to wean myself off, so it's not really cool.
I hear you.
So there is a bit of an argument, a bit of a tittle-tattle going on in the thingy. Garuda Legends, my body's such who I am. I like to work with homeless people sometimes I can't afford to be vegan. So I'm going pescatarian, flexitarian. I mean, Garuda Legends, you're almost there. I mean, we could have a conversation. Email me, and we could have a phone conversation. That's not a problem. WhatsApp, if you're on WhatsApp. So I'll put my email in. And just email that with your phone number. I'll add you on WhatsApp, and we can have a conversation on WhatsApp. It's not. I've done it in caps. Why have I done it in caps? Well, it's not in caps. It's in little ones. So let's talk about this mental health and well-being that you sort of coach, Jack, because I find that really interesting. I think I could benefit from that. Give us a little idea about what you're trying to project to people there.
For me, it kind of starts with so there's this like visual model, and it's a pyramid, right? And it's called the Robert Dilts logical levels of change. So if you imagine there's like this pyramid, and it's broken up into 5 sections, 5 little, horizontal chunks.
Oh, so it's a bit like the pyramid of evidence.
Maybe. I don't know, but I don't know about the pyramid of evidence. I'll have to look
Well,
it up.
it's like anecdotal evidence at the bottom. Then it's articles, and then
Oh,
scientific evidence at the very.
right.
It's
So
yeah.
primary
So
sources at the top, hearsay at the bottom. Right?
yes, exactly. That's it.
Okay.
That's it.
So yeah. This pyramid, the Robert Dilts model of logical levels of change, is basically at the bottom you have environment, and at the top you have identity. And then in the middle, you have things like skills and capabilities, beliefs, behaviors, etc. And so the idea is that the majority of people live their life in a way that they react to their environment. Based on the reaction to their environment, they are acting out a behavior, right? Based on consistent behaviors, they form skills and capabilities. Those skills and capabilities ultimately form a perception of who I am, right? What kind of person I am. And so everything is based on reacting to the way things are outside of you, right? The idea is that what if, rather than looking at it like that way, we could actually start with who do I want to be? From there, I form my skills and capabilities, which formulates my consistent behaviors. And then as I get better and better at doing these things, better and better at, frankly, operating within my, what we call my sphere of control, or beyond that, my sphere of influence, never outside of my sphere of influence, right? As little as I can, hopefully. I can deliberately create my environment. So I can deliberately create the kinds of people that are in my life, the kind of place that I live in, right? So that's kind of the nutshell of what we want to do. We're trying to shift a person into the driver's seat, right? Of like really creating the perception and the belief that I am in control. And so what do I have to do to live a life where I really feel like I'm in control?
Right. So I sort of understand it to an extent.
Mm-hmm.
And I suppose I'm a victim of it. I mean, it sounds to me, it sounds to me like you're talking about conditioning, and
Exactly.
we're conditioned to behave in a certain way.
Right.
And let's say living in a rough town like Oldham, I'm conditioned to, if I see a group of lads or other males in the vicinity, I'm on instant defense. Are they going to attack me? What do I do? Do I, and it shouldn't be like that. It shouldn't be like that. You shouldn't be walking around in fear or worry. And
Sure.
I suppose there's lots of other ways that can influence you as well. So you're saying, I mean, yeah, I mean, I get it. I used to have a lot of toxic people on my Facebook, and when I sort of found my acting talent and found my creativity, I started surrounding myself with other like-minded people. And again, with the veganism, you surround yourself with like-minded people, and it does change your outlook on life. It does change the way you operate. But how can you utilize this to? I mean, my life for the last couple of years now, it has been looking at some horrible footage, going into some horrible places, constantly being bombarded with animal abuse. By other vegans trying to put people off. But I mean, to see this constant barrage of animal abuse, my life seems a pretty shit place. I've been to the seaside, to the coast, and I've walked around, and what I used to enjoy and think was beautiful and quaint is now little buckets for people to catch crabs out of the ocean, for the kids to be taught how to catch living beings out of the ocean, fishing boats that I thought looked beautiful but are just floating slaughterhouses, a horse and carriage going down the streets when it's just a obvious slavery going on in front of your eyes. It's like, it's twisted my worldview to a very negative place. So how how do I turn that around and make it into a positive? And that's one of the toughest, I think, for a lot of vegans, mate.
Yeah, yeah. So I think first and foremost, like one of the hard things about mindset as like an overall concept is like there really is no one size fits all. If a person wants to lose weight, you got to be in a caloric deficit. You probably should cut out a little bit of salt, right? It's pretty straightforward.
Mm-hmm.
It might not be easy, but it's simple as far as what do you do. What do you do if you want to heal your gut, right? You got to stop. You got to stop drinking so much. You got to get the black coffee out of there. You got to start eating some more fruits and vegetables to keep your gut health, right? Pretty straightforward. Not necessarily easy, but simple. Mindset is not, and I think it's part of the reason is what you just said. Somebody might experience the same kind of depression, being entirely purposeless, right? Being an entirely unaware individual, right? They're living their life, eating a pound of bacon every day, whatever it is, playing video games all day, jerking off all day, something like that, right? Or it could be someone like you who's going to slaughterhouses, right? Seeing the reality of what's happening in the world around you. You see past the facade of the colorful boat, and
Yeah.
you see the floating slaughterhouse. So, but those feelings might be relatively the same, right? I think what you're talking about to me is like the ultimate realization, in my opinion, is the way you solve it, right? Is the ultimate realization that whatever we can dive into the deeper nuances of progress and how slavery of humans is pretty much a thing of the past for the most part institutionally, and there is significantly less war and all these things, but things will get better, right? That being said, right, probably not in our lifetime, not yours or mine, right? Probably these industries will continue to be state sponsored, 100% legal, less normalized. I think that in my lifetime, at least 50% of the population will be vegan. But the way that I deal with it overall is like, it doesn't matter anyway. At the end of the day, this planet only has a couple billion more years before the sun swallows it, right? And this experience that we are having together is a very temporary thing, and you will move on to whatever's next, right? Whether you believe you just decompose, whether you believe you go to heaven or something like that, it doesn't matter. It's temporary, and so acknowledging that the present moment is beyond words. It's a miracle beyond words. And even if it was a living hell, it would still be a miracle of consciousness to experience. And that frees you from the pain of mortality, in my opinion. Right? We look at everything in this scope of, it's not going to become 100% better in the next 200 years. Thus, it is a tragedy. And it is. But it wasn't a tragedy until you acknowledged that it was a tragedy for you and your own perspective.
Mm-hmm.
And the truth is that you have, whether you like it or not, you are a mortal person, right? And you have only finite mental, emotional, and physical energy. And when you spend an excessive amount of time absorbing disempowering information, right? When you look at animals being slaughtered, that it steals that energy, right? And it's up to you to feel that energy being stolen. And so again, like, this is one of those things that's not easy, nor is it simple. It's extremely complex, and it is, in my opinion, extremely difficult. But that's why it's the greatest pursuit that any of us could go after, is because once we recognize that I can be a more powerful activist when I don't allow my energy to exit my space, right? I can do a lot more. I can talk for longer. I can march for longer. And I think endurance is pretty much the key,
Mm-hmm.
right? And none of this. Oh, go ahead. Yeah.
No. Quite carry on, mate. I'm listening.
Oh, okay. Okay. Yeah, I was going to say. I mean, none of this is to say that you should not do these things. On the contrary, I think that you have an obligation. You should. If you're a person that is aware and knowledgeable, you should take action because it's the right thing to do. And I think the greatest glory that we can have as humans is to, I say essentially to die in combat, but essentially to go forth and do combat for something that is good and righteous, such as veganism is. But in that fight, leveraging the tools that you can to protect your mind and protect your mental health. And it is as simple as sometimes, a lot of the time we'll go out and do activism. We'll come home and be like, Jesus Christ, some people are dense. Some people are so willfully ignorant. It's extremely disheartening. But this is going to sound crazy, but like, what if it was as simple as you just didn't think those things? What if you just didn't care? What if you realize that, like I said to a vegan vlogger earlier, are you going to keep making the content? Probably, right? So if you're going to keep doing it anyway, why suffer? Pain is inevitable, but suffering is not necessarily inevitable. Suffering can be prevented quite simply by finding awareness within pain that it hurts, and that's it. That's all it is. It hurts.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, this hurts. Okay, it's going to keep hurting. Okay. But if I sit and I bemoan the pain and I woe is me the pain, it gets a lot worse. Now it's potentially fatal, right? Now it could kill my activism. It could kill me if I become so overwhelmed by it that I'm like, there is just no point in doing this. I'm done. I'm leaving. I will, I'm going to take my own life. And so that's, I think when it comes to the best, one of the best things that a person could do for themselves spiritually, I think, is find stoicism of, the reality of reality is that it is, right? It is the way it is. And so I have multiple options, right? I can choose to realize that because it is the way it is, that's one immovable object. And because I'm never going to quit, that's another immovable object. The war is inevitable, and I'm going to fight it regardless. Yeah. And so the question is, how much pain do I have to experience in that fight, and how much suffering do I have to experience in that fight? I think that's up to you.
You're spot on. I mean, personally, I don't have a problem. I mean, I give you that as an example. Hopefully that other people will see it as an example for themselves. Right. But it doesn't wear me down. And I've got two ways of looking at life, right? So I'm in the last quarter of my life, and the first 3 quarters of my life was spent abusing animals, partying, having fun, right? And I've done all that. I've experienced all that. I've lived a very hedonistic lifestyle, And so one way I look at it is, now it's payback time. Now it's payback time. You've had your fun. You've survived when a lot of my friends haven't survived. I've had friends dying only in the last few weeks, my age, prematurely. People shouldn't be dying at 50. Shouldn't be dying at 50. Prematurely. So I think I've got this far. I've had a fucking good time, right? I've survived it. So now it's payback. But secondly, for all the shit and for all the abuse I get and for all the threats and horrible comments I get from people, it only takes one person to PM me and say, I've gone vegan because of you. And it's like, boom.
Yeah.
I'm like Rocky running to the top of the steps, jumping on top of the steps. And I'm like, amazing.
Yeah.
And that's all I'm doing it for. And when I do finally meet my maker or go into my new body or come back as an animal or whatever happens to us in the infinity, we come back as, go into a new dimension. Whatever happens, there's a record here that Dan Shepherd did all he fucking could for the animals.
Right.
And that legacy is better than that Dan Shepherd's died. Yeah, all he did was party and abuse animals all his life. What an arsehole, you know what I mean? It's what a contrast, you know?
Sure.
And I mean, that's a very egotistical way of looking at it. I want to leave a legacy, but
Sure.
but at least it's a beautiful legacy.
Sure.
At least I was trying, you know,
Right.
and it is heartfelt, and it is heartfelt. It comes from the heart,
Hmm.
and all this observing slaughter, observing animals being abused, it just makes you stronger. Just makes you
Sure.
stronger and more determined to do the right thing by people.
I agree. Yeah, I couldn't have said it better.
But I mean, there's a lot of people out there who it affects badly, and
Sure.
you know, a lot of people end up in a ice cream man. Can you hear him?
Hmm.
So I've now in my head. This is the story in my head. There's a man going round abusing children around my house, getting them hooked on fucking the lactation of a cow with
Yeah.
sugar, and it's like my life's ruined, Zach. My life is ruined, man. It's like
Yeah. I
what the
mean,
hell?
I think you have humor, right? And I think that's you got to look at what you got, and you have humor. And I think maybe part of the reason you look at things the way you do is you came from a tough background and you realize that the world is a tough place, and that doesn't dissuade you. Um, I think the question becomes like, what does it take, when we are by ourselves and in the alone time that we have when it's off hours, you know, that's really the key, right? Is like, what does it, are you able to release, to practice healing, to practice self-love and allow yourself to take a load off mentally, physically, XYZ. And that's a skill, right? That's a damn hard
Yeah.
thing. I mean, I always think about, I don't know if this is related or not, but when you talked about the time, when you were partying and all this and that, I had a long time in my life where, I mean, obviously I'm a lot younger than you, but I had a
Oh, thanks,
time when,
Zach. Thank you for that. Thanks for reminding me of that, mate.
where I was doing the same shit. I was, doing a lot of substances and partying and all that stuff, but I don't look back at those moments with joy. I was depressed. I was extremely sad. I mean, I was way more, I mean, when I was most active in activism and I was going out and doing the damn pickets and all that stuff, I was way happier than I ever was and in the party, do drug stage. That was depressing. And maybe in the moment, in the euphoria, you think you're so happy, right? But when you're by yourself after the night's over, those are the most miserable moments. I will never,
Oh, yes.
I'll never go back to anything like
I
that.
know exactly where you are with that one.
And
I know
so,
exactly where you are that one. I've been sat on your lied on your bed like stiff as a board. You can't
right,
sleep. You
right,
you wake up the next morning. You've got to put on a brave face to everybody else, and
right,
it's like, oh man.
yeah,
Leon says, use the tools you either got gifted and or cultivated through life. Practicing self-care is probably the thing that most forgotten throughout this all. Yeah, of course.
yeah,
Of course. Vegan blogger, it won't stop me putting content out. I have definitely found it's a good way to outreach people. As Dan said, I've talked about MBR as I'm doing a makeup tutorial live. So MBR is an American company, Zach, that is in the UK, and it's got one of the biggest puppy farms in the UK that can then get sent off
Hmm.
to have shit put in their eyes, cut open, have things put in the nose.
What is it? You said poppy?
Oh, right. MBR, Beagles,
Oh, dogs.
dogs, puppy farm. Sorry, it's my accent. A puppy farm. So they
Oh, okay.
actually breed
Oh, I
beagles
see.
for experimentation in the UK, and it's an American company. And they've had a protest outside with activists outside for the last year and a half, I think it is now.
Hmm.
So yeah, I can't believe vivisection and all that stuff is still surviving well. And do you
Insane.
know why they use beagles?
Hmm.
They're the most trusting dogs out there.
Hmm.
That's why they use beagles. So even the reason why they use these dogs is just really dark and horrible.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, but yeah, yeah, it is self care, and also a lot of my friends with YouTube channels and people with like social media vlogs as well. They tend to go down this route where I've done it myself, and I've warned other people about this. is once you start getting quite a big following. When I say big following, I mean 500 people or more. I think 500 people or more is quite a decent following for anybody. You start you start thinking that you have to produce content for them. You get to a point where you think, oh my God, I haven't posted anything to my audience for a week now. I better post something. Then you post a load of garbage, something that you don't really mean, or something that's really badly put together, when the best thing you can do is just leave it. Your audience isn't going to go away.
No.
They aren't just, if you don't post anything for 2 or 3 weeks, they ain't just going to disappear and unfollow you. They would just jump on as soon as you do post something. And that's another thing that I've sort of found as well, is like, take a break from it, people.
Yeah, I agree.
Any questions for Zach, people? Because we've been going for 1 hour 5 minutes now, and
65 minutes.
Yeah, it goes fast.
It does.
So what about your training? I mean, you're a personal trainer. Are you a vegan personal trainer?
I don't coach any other people other than vegans.
Why?
Because it's a form of activism. I'll say that. And
that doesn't make sense.
You don't think so?
No. Why? How does that make sense? Why, when you're in a sort of industry that you could get people ensnared, why would you not use this as an opportunity to...
That's a good point, actually. I don't know. I always looked at it as, I'm training vegans so that they can be more confident, more physically, mentally and physically, right? And then they're going to be able to go out in the world and do better things, right? They're going to feel more capable of taking on the massive challenge that is in front of us. But I guess, I never really thought about why not use it as an opportunity to help people go vegan.
Yeah, of course. I mean, you could coach. There's nothing non-vegan about coaching somebody, telling people which exercises to do, how many calories. I mean, wow, you could just get some overweight person who's like trying to lose weight. Vegan Mooncat, you need to follow Vegan Mooncat and take a look at his channel. Really funny, but this guy was dead on the operating table. He literally lost the equivalent of 3 or 4 me's off his body in fat. He did amazing. But yeah, get an overweight person and you say to them, well, you're going to have to go into a calorie deficit, definitely. But can I suggest something? If you go for whole food plants, you can basically eat an absolute shitload of food without the calories, And then once you've got them hooked on the plant-based side of things, then you start pushing the veganism then, and say, well, did you know I'm vegan? And this is why I'm vegan. Look at this. Look at Seaspiracy. Look at Dominion. Look at this. And
yeah,
interesting.
That's a good point. That's a good point.
Plus, it'll make you more money, mate.
Sure, that's also a win. It's also a plus. I mean, I never looked at things that way. Yeah,
because I presently drive trucks, and most of the time I know what's on the back of the wagon, but 9 times out of 10 there might be animal products on the back of the wagon, and I'm actually helping the animal products industry, but I can't avoid that, And I'll try and do my best not to do that, but in the reality of the world that we live in. So I've been using this as a little opportunity for myself. If I'm going anywhere where I think it's animal products that produce them, I'll ask questions. Where do you get your food from? Which slaughterhouse do you get it from? And then I can find out whether this little packet with a cow in the field and organic beef, locally sourced, I can find out if it really is organic and socially, locally sourced. And there's a lot of things I can do and investigate, while I'm doing this job. So, we should all keep your enemies close and keep your enemies even closer.
Right.
You
give me some.
Yeah, I mean, the saying is keep your friends close and your enemies closer. But just keep everybody close, mate. And it's all about information. and getting information out to people. And when we've got the right information and facts, then we're in control. The pen is mightier than the sword.
That's right. That it is. I agree with you.
Greed Legend says, because I like your personality, by the way, I was just curious. So Garuda and Leon are having quite a conversation here. I have a question for Zach. Would it be wrong of me to go vegan for a vegan girl, or do I need to do it for the vegan ideology? Okay.
I don't
Now I
think
know what you answer first, and then I'll answer second.
Okay. I don't think you'd be vegan if you did that. I think that would just be trying to change your diet to appease a person. And that's not very sustainable. And she's going to see through that if she's a real vegan, by the way. That's my answer. I don't even, I couldn't, the answer is no, because you wouldn't be vegan anyway.
You know what my answer is?
Of course.
Go on, tell me, what's my answer, Zach?
Of course you should.
Yeah, do it. Do it. You go for it, girl. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh boy, whichever you are, go for it.
Yeah, whatever you are. Yeah.
Go for it, because, right, you won't be a real vegan, right? But you will be with this vegan girl, and 99% chance that you will end up vegan by the end of it, a real vegan. Once you see how beautiful the food is, once you see how light you feel,
right?
You know that you don't abuse animals, you don't send animals into a slaughterhouse to be stabbed in the throat. All this, you don't need to wear the skin of another being to look beautiful. You don't need to get the fat and gristle out of sea animals to make your face look better with makeup. And I think, yeah, go for it. I will lie to get people to go vegan. I will tell people, since I've been vegan, I've been able to jump over my house. I don't care.
Right.
But yes, the ideal thing is to get people to go vegan because they see it's wrong, and they see that morally, how can I be doing this? And that is the only way we're going to get people to be really vegan, and that is the only way we're going to get people to stay vegan. Because unfortunately, the vegan diet does not hold people for very long. The vegan diet just really sort of, it's misinformation, and it just spoils the whole thing. But yeah, I would personally, if you're gonna get into someone who's vegan, go for it. I mean, I'll be very surprised. What are you going to do? You're going to pretend you're vegan. Some vegan girls are fine. I accidentally started making vegan food because of them. So I think Garuda Legends is nearly there.
That's why it keeps coming.
I think, Garuda, you need to, my friend, you need to do it and stop questioning the bullshit, Zach, I've seen a comment by Garuda Legends on some of my stuff, and it seems to suggest that there's lots of things in meat that aren't really sort of found in plants. I mean, what's your experience on the plant-based diet? What are we lacking when we cut meat out of our diet, eggs and dairy?
You're not going to get any more of the low density lipoprotein that clogs your veins and causes you to have extremely dangerous health risks such as stroke and high blood pressure. You're not going to get any carnitine, which is a amino acid that has been proven to be unnecessary. You're not going to get as much salt, most likely, because the meat that you're buying is actually injected with salt, saline, so that it tastes better.
That happens in the US. It doesn't happen in the UK.
Oh, really?
Apparently so, yeah.
Wow, you guys are so far ahead. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't think every time someone's made an argument of, well, you're going to be lacking these essential amino acids, you're going to be lacking these vitamins and minerals. It's just been proven to be nonsense. I mean, Certainly there is more abundance of iron and there is more abundance of B complex vitamins in meat, but the thing is, like, B complex vitamins are synthesized in soil, right? And the reason that the animals that they're eating have B complex isn't because they're eating natural grasses and they're getting those B complex vitamins uptaken in by eating, things that have little bits of dirt on it. It's because they are being supplemented, right? Animals, the feed is supplemented with massive amounts of vitamins and minerals to keep the animals healthy, right? AKA keep the stock healthy, just healthy enough, shall we say? No, there's really no evidence to prove that you cannot live a completely healthy, completely, um, perfectly fine, if not even more elite physical life on a plant-based diet. I think meat and animal products take away more than they offer. If you look at like the calcium argument, right, in milk, animal proteins are extremely acidic and they require huge amounts of starches to keep them, and other kind of starchy minerals to keep them from destroying your body, right? And so, while there might be a significant amount of calcium in dairy, that calcium is just being leached right back out of your bones. So that doctors will prescribe menopausal women that have a high risk of osteoporosis to drink dairy. I think that's insane, right? When the reality is that you need to be taking D3, you need to be taking a calcium supplement, and then just drink some damn oat milk or something, right? These things that have plenty of calcium fortified that are not going to have the same hyperacidic proteins that are going to damage your body in the process.
I mean, there's been studies done all over the world. I mean, a lot of, especially the China study, where they found that parts of China where the population didn't use dairy had little to no hip fracture incidents. They say that the caveman had a thicker bone structure because we're not leaching calcium out of our bones.
Right.
There's a lot of evidence out there. We'll go through these last few questions now. What do you think about the plant-based products that get people addicted to new stuff, but similar circumstances like Beyond still spit cupping corpses for the burgers?
What does that mean?
What do you think about? They're sometimes talking riddles, Leon. What do you think about the plant-based products that get people addicted to new stuff? So, like the burgers, I think Beyond Burgers.
So that kind of brings them into the sphere almost.
Yeah.
I think it's great. I think Leon asked earlier, do I think it's as healthy or something? Are the health risks just as dangerous? I don't think so. I haven't seen evidence to prove that eating a Beyond Burger is health-wise as bad as consuming a beef burger.
It's not the perfect food, but it's certainly nowhere near as bad. There's no. I mean, there might be a little bit of saturated fat in there, but
sure,
everything else is plants, lentils, basically. Yeah,
so lentils and salt, and so the question is, like, let's break it down. How do you feel about the health of lentils and salt versus hormones and cholesterol? Right, those beef burgers are packed with hormones, packed with cholesterol, and so. Now, what do I think about, I guess, to try to address Leon's question as far as, like, is it good to use those products to get people in the sphere? Absolutely. Yeah, I think there's a big argument about plant-based capitalism, right? And, like, is it okay to be pushing these massive campaigns in order to, where was I going with this? Like the KFC Beyond Fried Chicken or like some Pizza Hut vegan cheese and this and that. Is that appropriate? Absolutely it is. Absolutely it is. Any opportunity for people to have accessibility, but be able to try things and associate something with veganism, like, oh man, this is kind of good, and associate that with veganism. It helps to dismantle the argument. Now, when it comes to Beyond Meat, using animal testing, I didn't even know that they did that. I've
Well,
heard rumors.
yeah, but I mean, it's not animal testing. What Leon seems to be saying is that it's spit cup testing. So they're tasting real burgers and trying to get it as close to the taste of the corpse flavor. So, it, I my answer to this, right, is we've got to look at the long picture. It's like fighting a war,
Right.
We can go and carpet bomb a military base, but we're going to take a few, civilians with us. And like Zach was saying about this capitalism, Leon, me and you will never agree on this. We'll never agree on this, mate, unfortunately. But I think that we're heading in the right direction, and people don't have to buy Beyond. But to get the majority of the population of the UK to take a burger and think, wow, this is plant based,
Mm-hmm.
I think it's putting him on the right track.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. It's still a funny one for me.
Yeah, I would say. I mean, I don't like it. Right. If you're asking me, am I okay with the abuse? No, I'm not okay with it. Right. I don't think it's appropriate. But that being said, I also am extremely disgusted by the use of, nuclear weapons in World War II against the Japanese Empire. Right. But there is a doctrine in war that is not, it's not as so much the weapons, it's not so much the tactics, it is the duration that is going to kill the most people. The longer a war lasts, the more people that are going to die, right? And so if we can end the war quicker, by definition, by technicality, we are going to save more lives. And so I think that there are ways that Beyond could do a better job, right? Like,
Definitely.
do they have to do things that way? Not really. They could do a better job, right? But overall, their campaign is not one to ignore, right? Their campaign is to create a meat alternative that is just as palatable to meat eaters. And overall, I think, I think that this is a trajectory that is contributing, whether you like it or not. It is contributing, and eventually, all meat will be plant-based. There just will not be. It will be more economically efficient, and unfortunately, that's the number one factor in any of this stuff.
Yeah, I mean, it's like saying, look, all we've got to do is torture 80 billion cows over the next 6 months. We'll torture 80 billion cows over the next 6 months. But once we've done that, we'll create a product. No more cows will have to be kept. That's it. That's the end of keeping cattle, full stop.
Mm-hmm.
We would all accept that. So in this capitalist society that we live in, we've got to accept that a few things. I mean, no, it's not right that they're trying to get the taste right. They could get the taste right by creating it and giving it to somebody and saying, "What does that taste like?" It's quite simple. You don't have to compare. It is ridiculous, but it is what it is, and we're not going to change capitalism. It's all about money. It's all about making money.
Right.
I wouldn't say Beyond is a vegan company. I'll say they're doing a great job, but I wouldn't say, they're a great. I wouldn't advertise them as a vegan company, not by a long shot. Right. I have a son who does sports and fitness at college, not vegan. Soaks up what's taught to him like a sponge from college on nutrition, etc. Any ideas on how to change the mindset? It's so hard. It so is.
Yeah, I mean, don't hesitate to leverage the documentaries. We can address the processed question next. I think that's the silliest question, but I think the documentaries have an abundance of information, right? I always think, oh, well, he's an athlete, game changers, but no, I mean, I really think the ethical stuff is what you got to hit people with, right? You've got to hammer that to them, because there are people that are going to wake up and realize it doesn't matter what the cost is. Like, that's what I decided essentially, right? It was like, it doesn't matter what the physical cost is. This is something that I have to do. And so I would say watch Earthlings, watch Dominion, show him those documentaries, ask him to humor you, right? Ask him to humor you, and maybe even watch them with him. But the problem with pursuing nutrition and fitness science is there's just so much of it, and there's so much that kind of goes back and forth against each other. And that's kind of a headache for a lot of people. 1 second, I'm just gonna go right over here and let my dog outside. 1 sec.
No problem. So yeah, Grumpy Vegan, no, we won't. You got your style, I got mine. That's how it goes for now. It's just shit that the method isn't justifiable for me. It's not justifiable for me either. But sometimes we just gotta take it. We've got to take a hit. The moment abuse happens, it ain't vegan to me. No, I agree. But again, how are we going to? We can't really go down a path unless there's going to be casualties. It's unfortunate, but that's the way it is.
Mm-hmm.
They could use lab meat for the taste comparison. Yeah, they could. Is there anything else you want to answer there?
No, I mean, I think, yeah. So the vegan Mooncat kind of addressed the concept of fake meat, right, and being too processed. I just think when we say processed, what does that mean, right? When it comes to making a loaf of banana bread, you take flour, which is highly processed wheat, right? You put it in a bowl, you mix it with sugar. You're processing these ingredients to make your banana bread, are you not? There's nothing that is not processed to some degree. And so I think whenever people see something that has been altered from a natural state and they don't know how it happened, they use this kind of blanket term processed with almost in like a negative connotation, right? Of like, oh, well, God, it must be bad for you because it's processed. It's like, well, frankly, most food, it goes through a series of steps to alter from its, plant state of a banana or a stalk of wheat, right, to become something else. And yet you don't question it. Like a lot of things you never even question until it's something that is being put in front of your face, of like a question of, are you willing to do this?
Yeah, but I mean, I think what Mooncat might be referring to, I mean, that is when you're cooking for yourself, But when you buy these products from like grocery stores, you're getting sort of like you've got all these preservatives in there, you've got these additives, you've got all these other little things that if you made it yourself would not be necessary, because it's got to have a shelf life, because it's got to sit on that shelf. It does become sort of a bit artificial. So I think that's. Sure. But I think what we can all take from that is learn to cook yourself.
Sure.
Buy a recipe book. Weiss M89. Nutrition science is not complicated. It's not back and forth. There's evidence, and then there's animal propaganda. Correct. Yeah, because nutrition science isn't rocket science at all. It's eat a varied diet, drink water,
right? Eat
vegetables, eat fruits, eat beans, eat a bit of everything every day, and you can't go wrong. Some nuts, some seeds, in whatever form. Because I was watching Hench Herbivore's channel the other day. It wasn't the other day. It was quite a while back, actually. And they had a animal food nutritionist on talking about vegan dog food and vegan cat food. And what he said was like astounding. And the first thing he said was that food is just a vehicle for taking nutrients into the body. It doesn't matter how it gets into your body, from what vehicle it's in. It can be in I won't do the car analogy because our cars are different than yours. But it doesn't matter how it gets into the body as long as it gets into the body. That's what our body wants food for, to get certain nutrients into the body. That's it. So there's nothing complicated about that. And when he was talking about dog food and cat food, and people say it's cruel to give dogs or cats vegan versions, he said, well, look at it this way. The meat that you buy dogs and the stuff that you buy cats is so over processed that the nutrients that are essential to both animals, like the cats need a certain nutrient, then they've got to add it back in as like a vitamin or a powder or whatever. So literally they've turned that food into nothing, and then they've had to add the nutrients after. So it's exactly the same, whether you give it a vegan version or whether you give it a meat version. It's just all mixed up, and it's not as complicated as people make out. Same with the taurine. That's the one. Thank you, Weiss.
Yeah,
taurine. They actually process the taurine out of the food, so then they've got to add it back in as a supplement. It's crazy, But thanks for that. Yeah. I don't care if people eat processed vegan food to save more animals, but whole foods would be better for the health. But like that, like most food is processed in some way. Yeah, of course. Yeah. Yeah. But if you're doing it yourself, you know where you're coming from.
Right. And I like that Leon earlier said this idea of veggies being I thought that was funny. Of
course there isn't.
Yeah, real veggie burgers just blended up. It's just blended up, potatoes and beans and lentils. Like, it's very easy to make. If any of you have a food processor, you can boil all these things, throw it in the food processor, mash it up, and make your own burgers, and bada boom, bada bing. You can make it taste like whatever you want, right? And you know what it's made of.
Right. Just to answer this one, right? Garuda. Yeah, there is animal-like propaganda. Okay, so I sit and watch that TV behind me, and I see cheese strings and kids' yogurts because children need calcium for growing healthy bones. Okay, and that is propaganda because that is not true. Children do not need yogurt, do not need cheese strings for their bone health at all. They don't need that extra calcium from any dairy products, whatsoever. Right. So that's another one. Barbecuing, men barbecue. Yeah, meat is for men. Meat and all this is propaganda by the animal agricultural industry. Women need meat as much as men need meat if they're going to say that. So why are they marketing it just to men? It's absolute bullshit,
Right.
and we've got to soak this in, and we've got to watch this. I always ask people when they talk about, especially in street activism, when someone says, yeah, but I go to the gym and I'm not going to get enough protein on a vegan diet. The first question I ask those people is, how much protein are you having a day by grams? And they go, I don't know. Because they don't know. Right. No fucking knows. Apart from the people who are doing it right and weighing the food and finding out how much protein, they don't know how much protein are you supposed to have a day. 150, 160.
Right.
40, 50 grams a day, mate. That's 2 peanut butter sandwiches. And it's shocking what people think. And that has been marketed to us by the animal agricultural industry, Garuda Legends.
Right.
Yeah. Right, I'm going to start wrapping this up. Roger Yates says, as a vegan of 43 years standing, I still say there is nothing better than a plate of steamed vegetables.
That's insane. What the hell? 43 years.
Yeah, he was one of the first sort of vegan activists in the 70s.
I was going to say that's you went vegan in 79.
Yeah, he was. Yeah, Ronnie and Roger were both in the same prison for doing vegan activism, for doing animal rights activism.
Wow.
They've got a store and a half.
That's cool.
Yeah, you should talk to Roger.
I was going to say, Roger, if you want to do a podcast, I recently was talking to have you heard of a fellow by the name of Walter Bond? Does that name ring a bell?
Are you asking me or are you asking Roger? I'm
asking you. Yeah, you. I'm sure Roger's heard of Walter Bond. So Walter Bond is an American who went to prison because he burned down multiple mink farms, fur farms. There weren't mink there. It was just the fur processing facilities. But he burned them down. Yeah. And they threw him in jail. One of the most epic prosecution speeches I've ever heard. You don't really hear many prosecution speeches that are very memorable.
You're so lucky that you get to cameras inside your courtrooms because we don't have them in the UK.
I don't think we're lucky. I don't know if we're lucky.
You need to say that, Zach. You need to say that in your best James Bond.
My name is Bond, Walter Bond. I like that.
I love it.
That's great. But yeah, so he's a cool guy, and actually he said that he would do an interview with me as well. And I look forward to that because that's crazy. I mean, anybody that's willing to go that far for the animals really has a whole other level of.
Yeah, but I mean, Roger only went to prison because he couldn't run fast enough.
That's always why you. That's the only reason you ever end up.
Yeah, he wasn't fast enough. You know what I mean?
Yeah, isn't that vandalism and arsonery? Yeah, but aren't those just labels for laws that somebody else made and now you're just kind of arbitrarily following? If a bunch of guys chase you down the road, and they're trying to kill you, and you turn around and you manage to blow their car up, is that not also arson and battery?
Garuda Legends, if you was kidnapped in let's say Spain, right? Some Spanish conquistadors grabbed you
Inquisition.
No one escapes the Spanish Inquisition. And they lock you up in a room and tied you up. And us activists, right? We came and saved you by smashing down the door and untying your bonds and setting the place on fire. Would you then be going, wow, you've committed arson and vandalism there, rescuing me? Would you? Fuck, man. Sometimes we've got to bend laws. Sometimes we've got to do what we've got to do.
Yeah.
Right? Start looking at the vegan message for what it is. Stop looking at it as a diet. Stop looking at it as an environmental issue. Stop looking at it as a health issue. Start looking at what veganism is, Garuda Legends, right?
Yeah.
Watch Dominion, watch Seaspiracy, right? And then come back to me, please, because, it's fun having you on as my little friendly troll, but it's pointless if you're not gonna come along and see what we're talking about.
Yeah, and I mean on a purely political.
I don't care. I don't care.
On a purely political perspective, I think that laws, in my opinion, a lot of laws should be broken, right? I think that the majority of government is, for us at least, you and I live in, for the most part, capitalist societies, and laws in capitalist societies are set up to protect capital, right? They're not protecting people, right? And so a lot of the time, to do the right thing for humanity, you do have to break the law. I mean, it's good and right to break the law.
If you want to hear about direct action, including Ronnie Lee and Dave Wetton, look for Radicals and Revolutionaries podcast, Series 1, now on every Tuesday. Roger, cool. I'm going to link you up with Zach on WhatsApp. I'll make a group and link you up, and then I'll drop out because I think maybe get Ronnie on as well, because I think both of them would make a great podcast together. You just got to be careful. They're a bit like Laurel and Hardy when they get together. You know what I mean? They're a bit of a duo, a bit hard to control when they're together. So just be careful, Zach, if you get them both together. Right, listen, people, I'm going to wrap this up now. If there's any little last questions that pop up, I will ask them. But is there anything you want to speak to everybody out there and say on your final words? Let's say you're going to pop your clogs tomorrow. This is your final day on Earth. What are you going to say to the people out there?
I think do your best. Part of the reason that this whole self-care thing is so important is because it gives you an opportunity to take a step back, right? And realize that all of this is temporary, right? And you should spend your life listening to your conscious. Do what your conscious tells you to do. When the conscious and the ego join forces, they're unstoppable. You are unstoppable. And I think that's what I hope everybody takes away is that, there's infinite possibility, right? And the real question is, where are you placing your attention? Because where you put your attention is where your energy will follow subsequently. And so that's all I'll say is stay positive, even from a place of force, right? Dan knows this. Actors know this, that feelings create changes in your physiology. If you try to be confident, you will feel more energetic. If you accept and notice and accept the things that depress you, you will follow that depression in a downward energetic spiral. And so realize that sometimes you do have to force yourself to change how you think, right? Forcing yourself to think and feel in a more positive way. We're not going to duck the question about KFC. Those are my words. Those are the ultimate. That's the message I want to leave people with.
I was going to say exactly the same. Let's tackle this question and then we'll call it a day.
Garuda Legends. I think, no, I don't think that they're blasphemous. I think, there's such a big debate in the vegan community about like, oh, if McDonald's puts out the McPlant and KFC puts out the, aren't you just funding the further slaughter of animals by paying for these things? Look, you are paying for the destruction of the planet every time that you pay your power bill, right? If you don't have solar energy, you are paying for the destruction of the planet, right? Every time you turn the ignition on your gas-powered vehicle, you're doing the same thing. Every time you pay your taxes and then your government goes to a Middle Eastern country and drops a bunch of bombs on innocent people, you paid for that, right? But likewise, how you act and what you say also is casting a vote for the future that you want. And every time that you go to a fast food restaurant and purchase a vegan item, you are casting a vote to that corporation saying there is demand for this. And so they are looking at the future. They are smart people. They might not be good people, but they are very smart people, right? And they are looking at the future and thinking, raising animals is extremely expensive, right? If I could get the same profits for something that required 1/20th of the price, am I going to do this? And the question and the data that they're looking for is, do people want it, right? Go out and cast your vote. That's what I would say.
I'll carry on supporting animal abuse. It's your choice. But from little acorns grow great oaks, people. So, yeah, you're not alone. You're not small. One person can do a lot. Two people can do twice as much, and so on and so on and so on.
Right.
So, thanks to all for joining. Please follow Zach on his YouTube channel. If you're on TikTok, please go over, give him a follow on there.
Yep.
Of course, Instagram. If you want some coaching, have a chat with him. I don't know his prices, but I've heard he's reasonable. And of course, save the animals, save the planet, save yourself.
Right.
Go vegan, people.
That's it. Awesome.